All right, we're back with more NFL coverage, and we have the Week 5 recap. So to get straight into it, start out with the 49ers and Rams on Thursday night. And honestly, the 49ers offense looked pretty smooth to start out the game. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, that might have been some of the finest football that Mac Jones played for any stretch in his career to this point. It's insane to watch. And, to get a little deeper into the first drive, because that's when I got into the game for real, for real. Jake Tonjes got himself multiple catches with them literally just running the same play. They had a little fake going, and they have Mac Jones drop back after the fake. Tonjes is running a sort of delayed route here. Almost looked like a Texas route, but it probably wasn't. Either way, they get the ball over to him right across the middle, and he would get 6-yard catches both times, including one for a touchdown and goal-to-goal situation to give the 49ers the first score of the night. Their defense was also making things look pretty scary for that Rams, though. I'm not going to lie. As lethal as they have proven to have been up to this point, they could not move the ball at all. And in fact, to end off the first quarter, they had like negative yardage as a team, while the 49ers just owned the time of possession. Like, the Rams wouldn't even see themselves get a chance to get the ball back until the very start of the second quarter, basically. Gave up a damn 91-yard touchdown drive on 17 plays, with them just, again, not even necessarily getting a lot of chunk plays, but just methodically moving the ball. McCaffrey is obviously going to be a player that warrants a lot of attention. And yet it was Mac Jones on fourth down, and then eventually Brian Robinson Jr. on a later fourth down to help extend their drives here. As we got deeper and deeper into Rams territory, though, DeMarcus Robinson, the former Ram himself, would see a nice catch go his way. And eventually, it was none other than Christian McCaffrey getting the matchup on an unsuspecting linebacker to give themselves another touchdown and a 14-0 advantage over them. It could have gotten even worse than that, because although the Rams were driving here, Pikanakua got them a first down, and Kyren Williams would actually manage to get them a few rushing yards on this fourth down here. They would make a switch to Blake Corum, and while he did have a good first run and first rep, McVay was definitely being tested in that moment, because right then, right there was a bobbled exchange between Stafford and Corum, and Tayshaun Gibson Sr., I don't even know how he's still a 49er at this point. He pounced right on the football. The fact that the 49ers have been owning the clock for that much time, and that they were now getting the ball back with a chance to go up 3 possessions. If that would have happened, oh my goodness, that game might have been just very much on the fringe of being done for this LA team. Luckily for them, they would manage to get a stop. And ironically enough, it came by them forcing an incomplete pass headed Kendrick Bourne's way, which would not happen too much in this game, ironically enough, to say the least. The 49ers, they would punt the ball there, and I guess something had to wake up the Rams at some point. So they would put together pretty much their best drive and most impactful drive of the night to this point. Just getting a lot of different guys involved that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Terrence Ferguson, the rookie out of Oregon, would get himself a 21-yard gain to pick up a third and manageable here. And then you would also have them get multiple crossing routes over to Jordan Whittington for 22 and 11-yard gains before the 49ers decided, on first down in the red zone, we're just going to all-out blitz Matthew Stafford. And at this stage of Matthew Stafford's career, that's probably not a mistake you want to make all that much. Not only did he read it perfectly, but with the amount of attention that this blitz got, because they essentially sent like 8 guys, there was nobody out there, nobody within even like 10 yards or so of Kyren Williams. making it easy for Stafford to just dump it off to him, and that's exactly what he did to get them their first score of the night. The 49ers would respond with a field goal and what was a pretty good 2-minute drill executed by this team. Yes, again, it was just the Kendrick Bourne show, and I don't really know how to explain that at all. It's wild, to say the least, but, I mean, here we are, I guess. Either way, Eddie Pinheiro would get them a 37-yard field goal. The 49ers must be feeling great now that they have a somewhat reliable kicker, and I don't know if the Rams can say the same thing. I mean, this drive started out about as well as it could have to open up the second half. You get yourself in good field position with a good return by your return man, all right? You get a good pickup on second down from this Madden fucking created player in Davis Allen. Yeah, I'm not making that shit up. You get deeper into San Francisco territory and you get stalled out a little bit with a couple of incomplete passes in a row. That's fair. From 53 yards, though, you expect Josh Carty to at least make that, at least get close to making it. This motherfucker missed. Man. McVay's patience was being tested. That's all I gotta say. And you'll see why in a second. Nonetheless, the Rams' defense would start to tighten up bit by bit. They were picking up the intensity, but not before Kendrick Bourne, again, just continued to torch them. It didn't even matter what coverage they were throwing at him. As long as he gave himself a little bit of a chance, felt like Mac Jones, more often than not, would just give him a great ball to rein in. Like, it was insane, truly. Yet another crucial third down conversion picked up by him as well, and then a different first down later on in the drive. Now, as great of an all-around player as Christian McCaffrey still is, for one reason or another, you could probably attest this to Trent Williams still being out at this point, I believe. The run game, that aspect hasn't really been in tune like that. I guess that could pick up over the season, though. And Kyle Juszczyk was also just stuffed in the backfield by the duo of Verse and Fisk before they would have to settle for a field goal and go up 20-7. Hey, they would not fuck up this drive. The Rams wouldn't. But I can't really explain to you why Tutu Atwell was just able to burn the defense for a 34-yard gain on the first play. And he would become relevant later on in the game as well. I literally have nothing to say about it. It's so crazy, bro. Anyways, even with Tutu Atwell trying to make a name for himself, it's still the Puka Nacua show out here. For a reason. Just picking up 16 yards, just using pure muscle. Because he was dead to rights earlier on in the process of catching the ball. That didn't fucking matter. Same thing with this 11-yard gain here. Just making defenders have to go through every single measure imaginable just to bring them down. And some of them still can't even bring themselves to do it. Cameron Williams would get a good run to get them in a much more favorable go-to-go situation on second and goal before they just sneak in a touchdown to Puka Nacua. They had a double set out there, and Nacua didn't even really need to run a full route. He just leaned down. Stafford snuck in the pass only to where he could get it from that particular angle. And he just lunged straight in the end zone for a touchdown like that. It was getting a little interesting. And it got even more favorable for the Rams once they managed to get this stop here on the 49ers. Despite Mac Jones picking up another first down. Again, the rushing attack was not really all that good. They'd get 9 yards on the first 2 downs, but then when it came time to make the third down stop, no other linebacker than Landman, of all of them, was able to pull it off. And the Rams had a chance, if they executed this next drive well enough, to take themselves a lead. Davante Adams, to this point, had been relatively quiet, but after getting a few reps to other guys, like Kyren Williams, for example, it was the Davante Adams show, for sure. His route running is still some of the best you'll see out of any wide receiver in the NFL. And the fact that they put a damn rookie on stout when it comes to guarding him, you should never have made that mistake. He just started going to work, man. Gains of 26 and 24 yards back to back. All of a sudden, the Rams were in go-to-go territory themselves. And once again, despite this not being a full-out blitz, the 49ers backing core was just way too slow to account for Kyren Williams. And he got yet another touchdown catch in this game. But they would not take the lead on this touchdown drive because the inconsistency of Josh Carty would strike yet again. He got his PAT blocked. Yeah. And there was a bit of a defensive stalemate as both teams would go 3-0 before the 49ers would decide that they finally wanted to do something. And again, just like it had been all night long, the Kendrick Bourne reps were just automatic. They were just automatic. Backed up in their own territory, it didn't fucking matter. Still managed to pull out an 18-yard gain and talk his shit right after. He had all the reins to do it. Like, he was on pace for a career night. And this is a person that has been in the NFL for years. Ironically enough, he was with Mac Jones for a little bit in New England as well. Wild progression for him. Christian McCaffrey was going to get his as well, and that would help a little bit. But even though the progress was being made, they were only able to get to the Rams' 41-yard line. And Pinheiro, for as accurate as he can be as a kicker, he's not necessarily known for his power. Yet, he would manage to get a 59-yard field goal. Like, okay, I didn't think he could pull that off. I'm not going to lie to you. But he did. He did do it. And the 49ers, even with that being the case, they had to tighten up on defense. Now, they definitely bent. I mean, Pukanacua, Davante Adams is a duo. Obviously, they're going to be formidable, so they gave up some pretty big chunk plays to them. And then, all of a sudden, it looked like they were cooking once Kyren Williams got this damn run up the gut, damn near untouched, for 20 yards following a cutback. It got even worse for the 49ers once their Williams on defense just for whatever reason decided to illegally use his hands. I don't really know what went into that. Like, I think he was like just getting right up near the face mask of somebody, and they penalized him for it. So at that point, like, I'm pretty sure that's Michael Williams. In fact, like, he can't be surprised at that shit, man. They will get you every time on that shit. But when it came to Kyren Williams, even though they had this go-to-go situation now on the 3-yard line, the 49ers would clutch up, specifically their D-tackling Collins. Man, it looked like Kyren Williams was going to punch that shit into the end zone. But just before he could even think about doing anything with the ball, in comes Collins' right hand just to punch the hell out of the ball and break Kyren Williams' hold on it. literally just before it even got close to crossing the goal line on his Nick Bolton stuff. But we'll get to that a little later on. Still, it did work in the Rams' favor. You had them backed up that far, and they knew that the game plan was going to be for the 49ers to run it and give themselves some space. They weren't going to throw the ball in that situation or even bother putting it in harm's way. So the Rams would get the ball back, and they got a good enough drive, including a 13-yard catch out of the backfield on another unguarded rep on Kyren Williams here. And at the very least, Josh Carty would get this field goal to tie up the ball game. So with that, we were headed to overtime. It was like, damn, you could have flat out won if he would have made all of his kicks. And he just refused to win this game. It's questionable stuff, to say the least. This drive was interesting for the 49ers, man. And it just goes to show you how weird of a night it was for Mac Jones. Because for as good as he was playing, and as good as the inclusion of different running backs and tight ends was earlier on in this drive, man, it didn't come without its consequences. In fact, earlier in the game, that man got so banged up that they had to question whether or not they should put in Adrian Martinez instead. Granted, Brock Purdy was already out of this game and listed as inactive, which is why Mac Jones is starting in the first place. They would have had to go down to their third-string quarterback here if Mac Jones was injured enough. Luckily enough, he was fine, but it did get worse on this drive. Not only did he get sacked by Kobe Turner, which I did see, and a name that hadn't been called in quite some time, but obviously he's still just as much of a threat as anybody. On this third down, he got pummeled down to the ground so badly that he was limping off the field, trying to clutch different parts of his body, and he was even puking on the sideline, or maybe attempting to do so. I don't know. If he was puking, good on the cameraman to not really show that in its full display, because nobody wants to see that. But, I mean, they were putting that man through the ringer, and, for him to still go out there and put on a pretty solid performance is respectable enough. Yet, with them being held to a field goal, and with the idea of the Rams having a chance to respond anyways, because that's how the rules are in the regular season now, it wasn't over for them. They had a very good chance. It must have really been the Tutu Atwell show. We're talking about a deep post route, and yet this man just beats the hell out of Marquise Siegel, the rookie, in space, gets all the way over to the sideline, and with a good toss from Stafford, he just walks right into the catch. Again, how that happens, you may ask, I have no idea. But whatever. And then we get down to it. They would try to hit up Tutu Atwell again, but it was not meant to be. And then they would try Kyren Williams back-to-back, but they were still short. All of a sudden, you have 4th and 1 at San Francisco's 11-yard line. And Sean McVay would make the decision to run it. While it was looking fortuitous to begin with, Marquise Siegel did a great job of redeeming himself as the rookie, getting in there for the extra effort to push back Kyren Williams completely and have him be stopped, giving the 49ers a 26-23 win. Before I get into the numbers, though, I will address the call a little bit. I had absolutely no problem with it. And I don't know why everybody is giving Sean McVay so much shit for it. I don't get it. Because, for one, even within that range, Josh Carty proved to you that he could not be trusted in this game. That was made very clear on the night. That's for one. And for two, even with the fumble from Kyren Williams in that clutch time situation, the reality is that he's still a good enough back to get you more than the requisite yards in that kind of space. And he had been for most of the night. So if it had been working fine enough, why not? Even if people think that, hey, they might have had a better chance kind of doing what they did with Pukanako on the touchdown play. And maybe like sneaking in a pass to him in a double set. Having him just lunge across for the first down. Yeah, it could have been fine. But again, I have no issue, take no issue with McVay choosing to go that route. To get into the numbers though, Mac Jones would have 342 yards passing and 2 touchdowns on 67.3% completion. Again, Christian McCaffrey, yes, the rushing attack wasn't necessarily all there, but in total, he had 30 touches for 139 yards and a touchdown. As disproportionate as that may seem, again, when you have the versatility that he does, it just throws off the defense. It is as simple as that. And with that output, McCaffrey would have a major milestone here because he became the 6th player to reach at least 11,000 yards from scrimmage and 80 or more touchdowns in their first 100 games in the NFL. And he's on a list with some of the greatest running backs in NFL history. It is just so wild that even with McCaffrey being a Hall of Fame talent, I mean, honestly, with that in mind, all of those guys are Hall of Famers. He's very much making his case for it, and he's already set multiple career records at this point that would suggest that he should be a Hall of Famer someday. But the injuries that he suffered in the past have just truly held him back. We know that. That's the scary part about this. Kendrick Bourne also felt that it was time for him to have a career outing, and he would do that, putting up 10 catches and 142 yards. I don't think anybody could have seen that coming at all. But he fucking did it, man. Again, the connection between those two was just automatic. It was unexplainable, but it worked to perfection. Jake Tonjes also had 7 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown, continuing to hold it down in George Kittle's absence. They still don't believe that he's ready to return yet. And again, they said like 4 to 6 weeks. So I could see why they would still be mum on having him like return. As for the Rams, Matthew Stafford would have 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks on 63.8% completion. While Kyron Williams would have, in total, 22 total touches for 131 total yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. Devontae Adams would have 5 receptions for 88 yards, and Pukanako would have 10 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown. With his contributions in this game, it also happened earlier for him. Pukanako would become the 3rd fastest, or tied for the 3rd fastest in NFL history to reach a 3,000-yard receiving in a career mark. He did it in 33 games. Since he's been a rookie, man, he has just burst onto the scene. Is an absolute fucking beast. I don't think anybody's denying that. He's already proven himself to be one of the top receivers in the NFL. And his contributions in this game also still make him, by the end of Week 5, leader in most categories in the receiving aspect. But there is a player that is creeping up behind him. Tutu Atwell would have 2 receptions for 72 yards. How about this game from Landman, though? Unexpected, man. A TFL and 14 tackles with 3 pass deflections, while Siegel on the side for the 49ers had 13 tackles and a pass deflection. Just absolutely mad. To move on into the Sunday action and starting out with the Seahawks and the Bucs. CBS should have cut on this damn game, but they didn't want to just because it wasn't close enough to hear. Robbed us all of what might have been a Game of the Year candidate. And I guess I could say that, even though I didn't really watch it live. Like, it was an absolute masterclass between two really good quarterbacks, leading to very good offenses. And again, I could sit here and make the excuse that the Seahawks had a litany of players out in this game because they did. Devin Witherspoon, Julian Love, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Josh Jones were all out against Tampa Bay due to their respective injuries. And at the same time, it's not like the Bucs were in prime, health either. Not only was Bucky Irving out for this game initially with a foot injury, but they also came out and said something about the fact that he did not tell them the full severity of an existing shoulder injury that he had. So they're going to be without him for quite some time. Again, if you try to make these excuses when it comes to injuries, you're just going to put yourself in quite the weird spot. You still have to go out there and play the game in front of you. And both teams just dogged out in this game. Both teams. I mean, just put this into perspective when you look at the numbers. 29 of 33 passing for 87.9% completion and 379 yards and 2 touchdowns for Baker Mayfield. And for Sam Darnold, wasn't half bad either. 28 for 34 passing and 82.4% completion for 341 yards and 4 touchdowns with an interception. As backbreaking as it was. But it did get tipped up by multiple people. I think it even hit off one of the D tackle's helmets, and it landed right into the hands of the veteran in the Levante David. You know he was not dropping that. Stuff. But yeah, it was just hard. Like, every single time one team had a response, at least down the stretch of the game, because, the Bucs did get out to a 13-0 lead following a fumble by Jalen Milroe. But after that, it was just on like popcorn for both squads. And, there are good takeaways from both teams, man. Now, their run game for the Bucs wasn't necessarily the greatest, but, they had multiple wide receivers to step up out of absolutely nowhere. Even though the obvious one would have to look at the Ohio State men, honestly, for both teams, right? There's something to be said about Tez Johnson stepping in for some of the first few reps he's gotten in this season and catching all 4 of his targets, just burning Seahawks defenders for 59 yards in this game. K. Dotton also managed to get 81 yards and 4 receptions on the day. But as I said, bro, they do not call Ohio State wide receiver U for no fucking reason. Because in the same way that the teams had responses from one another, every good Jackson Smith-Njigba play in this game was somewhat followed up by a fucking solid Emeka Egbuka reception. Look no further than some of their longest catches in this game. Because, if I'm not mistaken, you had Jackson Smith-Njigba just go out and moss the living hell, out of Antoine Winfield Jr. No question about it. Just absolutely mossed the fuck out of him on a beautiful, beautiful throw by Sam Darnold. You know how much trust you have to have in your wide receiver to throw that up? It's not like he was fully open. Antoine Winfield Jr. is one of the best safeties in the NFL. But my goodness, it was a hell of a play. And the Seahawks would eventually score on that drive. A.J. Barner himself also had multiple touchdowns in this game. Again, fought Michigan, but he's been a damn good tight end for the team. But follow that up on the very next possession on 3rd and long on a play that I guess the Bucs felt like they absolutely had to have. This man, Baker Mayfield, uncorks a fucking dime down the field. Literally throws it on a string. 57 yards down the field with Emeka Egbuka just streaking past the defense, and he adjusts back to the ball, just falling down, securing the catch, and he got stopped just before scoring a touchdown. But those are just some of the strengths that both of the wide receivers possess. You know, Jackson Smith-Njigba is obviously a player that is ascending. But Emeka Egbuka is also a player that is setting a tremendous precedent for rookie wide receivers as well. Just to delve into both of them a little bit, I'll start out with Egbuka. Caught all 7 of his targets for 163 yards and a touchdown in this game. That makes him the first player in NFL history with at least 25 or more receptions and 5 or more touchdowns in their first 5 NFL games as a wide receiver in NFL history. And he has 445 yards on the season. Definitely in the upper echelon of receivers in that aspect. But you can't sleep on Jackson Smith-Njigba either. He had 8 catches for 132 yards and a touchdown in this game, still making him the closest wide receiver in terms of receiving yards to Puka Nacua in the NFL at 534 after the week. I also saw something different. Again, don't have full access to Pro Football Focus, but they did mention that he has some of the best efficiency and the most yards when it comes to targets in single coverage. I mean, it's all out there on the tape for you to see. All right. He might not necessarily be a guy that warrants, top wide receiver marks right now. But I'm telling you, he's getting there. He's right in that range right now. You are not going to hold that off for the longest period of time. It's impossible to do. Like, I hate to break it to you, man. You just gotta get accustomed to understanding that at some point. Also for the Seahawks as well, really good thing. And I guess maybe down the stretch because of the advantage that they had in timeouts, I think. Like, no. Yeah. Yeah, you still had an advantage in timeouts at this point? I don't know. I mean, it's definitely revisionist history. This is definitely in hindsight, but I don't know. You probably could have trusted your run game a little more, especially down the stretch. You didn't have to go all out gun on that second down. Even if the Levante David interception was just a tough one. Because for as good as this front line for the Bucs has been on defense, like, they've been swallowing up running backs all season long. No running back has done that well against them this season. And yet, the Seahawks managed to run for 6.1 yards per carry against them and combined for 122 yards and a touchdown. Like, they gashed them. And I'm like, that's a very good sign against a very good run defense in the Bucs. Yes, Kalijah Kancey, rather, is out for the season. But they still have elite trench play down there. And as long as Vita Vea is there, like, you're good. But that was not the case. Also, to take it back to that QB matchup, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield would be the first pair of opposing quarterbacks in any game in NFL history to throw for at least 325 or more yards and have at least 80% completion or higher. Absolute masterclass. Even though there were a bit of rougher moments for both quarterbacks, like, you have to be pleased if you're a fan of either team with the way that both of them played. Like, I'll take it as a Seahawks fan. Like, Sam Darnold, man, this was an exceptional fucking game from him. I still had my questions surrounding whether or not he was a reasonable pickup for the Seahawks, but to be honest, he has been doing well this season. He's had exceptional ball games, just making some great reads, and that didn't change in this game. But he also had plays where he just stepped up tremendously. Like I said with that aforementioned pass to Jackson Smith-Njigba, but how about the Seahawks as well, making in-time adjustments throughout the season? Because that 4th-and-1 situation was something that the Seahawks had faced against the 49ers in week 1, if you don't remember. And what did they do in that situation? They went for the field goal instead of going for it on 4th down, and the 49ers went down and scored. Now, the same thing would happen here following this possession because Sterling Shepard would work his way into the end zone for a touchdown themselves, but they still had enough faith in that moment in Sam Darnold. I guess it's been growing throughout the course of the season, and that's also a good sign for them to call a play action on 4th down and set it up. Bucs defense damn near had Sam Darnold dead to rights, and yet this man was shaking off sacks. He ends up bumping into his own offensive lineman and still manages to step back and get a pass over to the great rookie for this team in Torrey Horton for yet another scrimmage touchdown for him this season. You have to love that. That was some of the craziest stuff you've ever seen from Sam Darnold in your career. It's absolutely wild to watch. And Baker Mayfield, man, you just have to respect a player that consistently finds a way to win. You have to. Now, yes, a lot of these are cardiac games for the Bucs. Their exact record matches their record in one-score games this season. It's been an absolutely wild one so far. But again, this is a good Seahawks team to take down. So it's like, these are the games you would have to expect here. Still, I would think that at some point, you'd probably want to win a game more convincingly. But you got, if you're going to live by this, hey, it could set you up nicely. It could, in theory, in the playoffs. But only time will tell. Nonetheless, they've got a massive stranglehold over the NFC South here. So they should be in smooth sailing. Alright. As long as I did discuss those two games, and honestly, both of them were relatively good. That's what you got to expect from NFC West football. And also just the Bucs this season. Are a fucking great team to watch. We would not get the same thing, at least with the games that I actually watched in full in the early slate. We got to start out with Texans and Ravens. Do we really have to? Yeah, we have to. I couldn't even explain all the shit that went down here. I suppose you could say that this was a perfect game for the Texans to find their offense back again. Like Nico Collins, not only was it Nico Collins eating, it was Nick Chubb getting big gains. It was Woody Marks putting on yet another show in his short rookie season so far. And it was also a player, there was legit a player named British Brooks, if I'm not mistaken, getting multiple fucking reps in this game. And I'm like, did I really just hear them call this nigga British Brooks? Yes, that is his name. Get himself a few good reps as well. Everything seemed to be automatic for this Texans team. In fact, on this damn touchdown drive, nearing the midway point of the second quarter, C.J. Stroud managed to get himself a 30-yard gain. And I'm like, yeah, go C.J., you got it. That's exactly what he can pull off whenever he wants to. eventually on that, you would have Nico Collins get in for an easy touchdown catch. I mean, no Raven at that point was going to guard Nico Collins, especially given how much injuries they have had. And yet at that point, Jair Alexander, I guess, was playing, but and Nate Wiggins is healthy, I guess. So they trusted him to guard him. And you're thinking he could have done a much better job there, but in reality, Nico Collins just completely worked him. Oh, man. It was a rough day for the Ravens fans. Made even worse by Tyler Lockett missing a 55-yard field goal before the end of the half, and then having Cooper Rush on the very first possession of the second half, getting intercepted by none other than Jalen fucking Pitre, who would have 2 damn interceptions in this game. The last one being a bit more inexplicable. It was in Mark Andrews' hands, and he just gave it right over to him. Then you had Kamari Lassiter get himself one on the scoreboard later. This game for the Texans was also marked by multiple Iowa State players. Legit. Outside of the one to Nico Collins, not only would Xavier Hutchinson, the Iowa State man, get his first 2 touchdown catches in his NFL career, because he'd never caught so much as one before this game even took place. That's already embarrassing in and of itself if you're looking at this from the Ravens' defense's perspective. And then they also had Jalen Noel, the most recent Iowa State man, getting 13 yards in this game in his first NFL touchdown. Yet Jair Alexander was so salty that apparently he tried to take the fucking ball away from him. And I guess multiple Texans teammates had to just get him away from there. Yeah, okay, if you were putting that forth, even a percentage of that forth in the actual flow of the game, you probably have made this a bit more convincing for you. Jaden Higgins, another Iowa State man, also had 4 receptions for 32 yards in this game, and Nico Collins had 4 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. Yet, it was Christian Kirk leading the way with 64 receiving yards on 4 catches, and Dalton Schultz also having 5 catches for 60. Just spreading the ball around, doing whatever they wanted, and by the end of it, C.J. Stroud in this game had 4 touchdowns and 244 passing yards on 85.2% completion, with as many incompletions as touchdowns. Again, testament to just how bad it has seemingly got for the Ravens. And honestly, I'd be here for hours if I talked about every single thing that was potentially going on here. It's just it's not good. Again, one can question Cooper Rush's ability as a quarterback, and that would be fair. You could probably get a higher quality backup that would actually put forth better contributions than he did in this game. That was always going to be the question. And yet, again, my thinking was that you would give Derrick Henry the football because he's been a Texans killer throughout his career. Yet, they did, or at least they tried to early, and the Texans, again, figured they needed to go to the box. So they did exactly that. And Derrick Henry had very little rushing room. It's been a weird slot for Derrick Henry. Very weird slot. And again, that is not the only thing that's going on with the Ravens. It's all bad right now, especially when you lose a game by 34 points to a Texans team that have been struggling for most of the season. But 15 carries for 33 yards for him is just so highly uncharacteristic in this day and age. Yes, his touchdown did tie him for 5th all-time in touchdowns for running backs with Walter Payton. So that's good, but by that point, man, the game was effectively done. yeah, it was just, it was a rough one. A rough watch to say the least, man. If you are a Ravens fan out there. And yet, it figured, it was going to be a bit of a struggle here because the Texans are that good of a defense. But now you have to deal with the Rams next week. And if you're going through that now against a Texans team who hadn't found their stride yet, you think you're going to want to deal with a Rams team who is going to be looking to bounce back? That could get very scary very quickly. To move on to the Cowboys and Jets, and man, they do this shit all the time. Like the Jets, for quite a while, got absolutely smoked in this game. They did. Now, don't get me wrong, they had a lead. They were putting together some solid offense earlier in the ball game. But as soon as the Cowboys started to turn it up, man, the Jets just gave themselves less and less chances by shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, it did not help that for whatever reason, they allowed this random wide receiver in James Flournoy to step up in the absence of both CeeDee Lamb and Kevontae Turpin and just burn them throughout this game, including a fucking 40-yard catch down the field. Like, when the fuck is that happening? How are you allowing this? But then you understand that Brandon Stevens was the one guarding him on most of these plays, and then you're like, oh, okay, I see. I could see why that would happen. The Jets offense continually stagnates for the longest time. And then when a game is out of reach, that's when they decide to turn it up. And again, in totality, it looks as though that could be a good performance for some of their offensive players. But at the same time, it's like, yo, if you keep that consistent, you'd win. Now the Jets are 0-5, and now you have Aaron Glenn getting into fucking Adam Gase territory. And that's not what you want to do. That's not the move, man. Especially with some of the ways in which these games have gone, they've been winnable. And yet the Jets cannot get the little things right. And it consistently comes back to bite them. Now the Cowboys would get themselves on the board with a touchdown here. Jake Ferguson would just streak open right in the seam and get himself an easy catch. And again, it's not like the Jets didn't have chances to respond, but they continued to fuck shit up. Like the defense would hold for a little bit. They forced the Cowboys into a 3-and-out. But before and after that, you have the Jets offense themselves getting right back off the field. And then, just to harken back to how it was last week, they mentioned in this game that Aaron Glenn had put on like boxing gloves as he continued to preach ball security. And what the fuck happens on this drive? Breece Hall gets the ball punched out of his hands by Maris Lufau to have Sam Williams recover it and then have the Cowboys go on a fucking 91-yard drive down the field with Javonte Williams just running absolutely mad down the field continuously, while Flournoy again would manage to get another 40-plus yard catch. But it would be Javonte Williams punching in from 5 yards out. And then with the Jets going 3-and-out again, you know what they decide to do? They allow Javonte Williams to get rip off a monster 66-yard run, just moving over to the left side of the field, trucking off multiple defenders, and trying to utilize the speed that he does have to his best ability, but wasn't all there. He would be stopped just short, but you would have Jake Ferguson, again, get another easy catch in. Like, you allow a damn RPO touchdown to this man, and then you have him just streak in for an easy pitch and catch. Man. It remains slow for this Jets offense. And at some point, you figured the Jets defense was just going to break. They did. George Pickens broke Sauce Gardner on a post route. Prescott lobbed that shit up down the field. And he hit him to give the Cowboys a 30-3 lead. Like, yes, the Jets would get a field goal, and they would actually get their first touchdown drive with Andrew Beck, of all people, getting in the end zone. But by that point, it didn't matter. Jets defense still couldn't buy themselves a stop, and it would be Javonte Williams out of the backfield getting them a touchdown. So even with Garrett Wilson, again, making, at least, like, he is always due for a set of tremendous plays in a ball game. And at least you know, if you're a Jets fan, that you're getting that out of Garrett Wilson. That's what you paid him for. Like, he gets fucking lit up by Deron Bland, but it didn't matter. He still reached his arms out over the goal line to get the touchdown here. But it still was not enough, and the Cowboys would win 37-22. Again, don't be fooled by that. Just don't be. It was terrible, man. Dak Prescott in this game, to get into the numbers here, would throw for 237 yards and 4 touchdowns on 62.1% completion, with his 41 career games with at least 3 or more touchdown passes being the most in Cowboys franchise history. Javonte Williams would have a total of 17 touches for 139 yards and 2 total touchdowns. Ryan Flournoy, of all people. Okay, 6 catches for 114 yards, bro. Like, come on, man. That is embarrassing. George Pickens would have 2 receptions for 57 yards and a touchdown, with his 5 receiving touchdowns in his first 5 games as a Cowboy, being a record in franchise history as well. Jake Ferguson would also have 7 receptions for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns. As for the Jets, again, in totality, this is somewhat decent. 283 yards on 69.6% completion and 2 touchdowns for Justin Fields. But where is all of this consistently throughout the game, and especially in the first half? Because you just continue to get off to these slow starts, whether it be just the lack of ability to move down the field or the lack of ability to finish drives whenever it is you do move down the field. That's not a good combo. It's just not. Breece Hall would have 14 rushes for 113 yards. Garrett Wilson would have 6 receptions for 71 yards and a touchdown, while Mason Taylor had 9 receptions for 67 yards. And this defense is still vaunted. Now, again, they had some solid stops in this game for sure, but they are in just a completely regressive state. Think about this. They also mentioned that the Jets, this iteration of the Jets defense, at least, would be the first team since 1933 to not force a single takeaway in their first 5 ball games. As good as the Jets defense can be, they just haven't been that much of a threat. Whenever you are consistently going out there and you cannot get yourself off the field in those kinds of ways, it could pose a problem down the line. And it looks like it certainly has for them. Because that is just so embarrassing. I mean, like, that is not a good look. It's not. I cannot sit here and lie to you, man. All right, moving on to the Eagles and the Broncos. This was bonus coverage, and they kind of went to it a little bit earlier than expected because, of course, it's like that Ravens game was just not competitive enough. So, I mean, bruh. I could see why that would happen. Now, by this point of the game, it was already like 18-17. The Broncos had just taken the lead here on a 2-point conversion of theirs. And, there was still a decent amount of time in this fourth quarter. We're only nearly halfway through at this point. So, I mean, they had a tremendous opportunity to get at least a score here. And it was looking like they could do it. But as they would get to fourth down, while Devontae Smith would get a tremendous pickup, just completely cooking Riley Moss and that defense here, Saquon Barkley committed a penalty that pushed it back, and they had no other choice but to punt from there. Now, the Broncos, with this, all they needed to do at a point was just force the Eagles to use their timeouts. And to be honest, they did. They made very good work instantly of ensuring that the Eagles had no more timeouts to utilize. And from there, they would run the ball, briefly at least. But what I still don't get is this third down. Like, yes, with him getting sacked here, I guess, they did keep the clock running. Fine. But there was just no reason for the Broncos to drop back and pass at all. And to think if anything different could have happened there, we could be talking about a completely different ballgame. It's like, I don't get it. Then to make matters even worse, you had a false start penalty. But at least Will Lutz still made it. Now, this last drive for the Eagles would just be full of a lot of shit, to say the least. Like, Nick Bonito, you knew Nick Bonito was due to make a sack, make a big play in a big moment, because that's just what he does. And that would happen on first down, bleeding off even more clock for this Eagles squad who was now without a timeout. And I'm thinking at this point, you know that you have to run out of bounds in these situations and conserve clock. Yet, with all that going down, by the time it was fourth down in their own territory, because Jalen Hurts had thrown an incomplete pass, Dallas got its way, there were only 21 seconds left. Already off the rip, just completely mismanaged it from that perspective. But they would get bailed out. Briefly, keep Skinner in mind, because Skinner would be called for pass interference on this play, and to be granted, even though it might not have been the most egregious thing, it clearly was. It gave the Eagles an automatic first down, and right then and right there with Jahan Dotson following up with another 24-yard crosser over to the right side of the field, he smartly got out of bounds, and it looked like it could be smooth sailing for this Eagles team if they got like another intermediate throw that went out of bounds. In theory, you could get it to one of the wide receivers on the outside within like a 10-yard range. That could have been attainable. And it probably should have been when you put this into consideration. The scoreboard will tell you that, yes, this was an incomplete pass thrown Dallas Goedert's way, but at the same time, as Dallas Goedert was trying to come back to the football, this man, Skinner, once again, interferes with the pass. He literally prevented him from adjusting to the football. And this one was way more egregious. He was grabbing all over him, restricting his movement and everything. And they didn't call the flag there. This is where the consistency problem comes into play here. How the fuck do you call one but not the other? You gotta make that shit make sense if you are an NFL ref. And that would truly hurt the Eagles there. Because, like, if you get that penalty, it could be a spot foul, and this happened, like, right inside the 10-yard line. Completely different ball game in terms of approach when it comes to your play calling if you are closer in that territory. Because again, the Broncos are trying to play the back of the end zone. So you're going to have everybody deep, but when you're deeper in range like that, you're not going to have as much space to really move further and further back. So you're inevitably going to have to engage far sooner than you would intend. And that would force them to move up. Yet, with them still being at nearly the 30-yard line, they have to settle for going for a Hail Mary. And to be honest, they got you're not going to find a Hail Mary attempt as good as this could have been. And it might have been too good. You had Davante Adams and A.J. Brown in the same spot, and they both had a shot at the ball, but only one person could catch it. And as one was trying to get it, the other tried to interfere and haul it in, and before you knew it, it ended up being an incomplete pass, giving the Broncos a 21-17 win in a wild way. I mean, hey, when you think about it, both of them have started to clamor for more attention in the offense when it comes to getting targets and receptions. So again, I guess it was really just a fight for the ball at the end of the day. You can't necessarily blame either one of them. But to be serious about it, tough loss for the Eagles to suffer, and it really didn't have to be that way. Because I'll get into their numbers, I guess. 60.5% completion for Jalen Hurts and 280 yards with 2 touchdown passes. And while Devontae Smith had a solid 8-catch, 114-yard day, with A.J. Brown also having 43 receiving yards, the most revealing team stat here would have to be the fact that they only ran the ball 11 times for 45 yards. I'm like, what? Now, again, my thinking is that even without watching it live, I'm like, the Broncos probably have done a decent job of ensuring that the Eagles did not establish any momentum in the running game. Because again, as soon as they can do that, they have got you exactly where they want you. And that could be reasonable. At the same time, even if the Broncos were putting things to a stop here, you're the fucking Philadelphia Eagles. This is what you do consistently. And so I'm like, what is truly stopping you from running way more than you did in this game? Unless you were out here trying to prove a point about Jalen Hurts throwing the ball. What happened to doing whatever it is that you need to do to win? You shouldn't really care too much about the outside noise here, even if people would like to see the passing offense. Nobody gives a shit. If that is your identity, you're going to do everything in your power to stick with it. Don't try to change it now. It just didn't make sense to. And with that, they lost their first game, ending their 18-game winning streak. As for the Broncos, Bo Nix would have 61.5% completion and 242 pass yards with a touchdown, while J.K. Dobbins would have 20 rushes for 79 yards and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton also had 8 receptions for 99 yards in this game. And Evan Engram also added 4 receptions for 33 yards and a touchdown. Also, with this win, Sean Payton would usurp Bill Parcells in all-time wins as a head coach. So, again, that's also a good milestone for him when you think about it. All right. Moving on to the Chargers and the Commanders. It was looking very well for the Chargers to start out. Marion Hampton got some good cap going early on, but it was really about Justin Herbert utilizing his legs. This man just, oh my gosh. I mean, what the fuck? Oh my goodness. He just showed all rising quarterbacks with this damn play how exactly, and I think I'm going to be talking about this a lot when it comes to AFC West teams. That was a tremendous display. This 41-yard run right here of somebody trying to climb the pocket to scramble not just running all over the place. Because once he climbed that pocket, once he climbed that proverbial ladder, you could say, the hole opened up. And it was gaping. Damn 6'6" frame and however long his legs might be, just running right through the middle of the field and right through the fucking defense. Even taking some extra contact at the end of the run, just to add even more allure to it. It was insane. And they would keep that momentum going. Even though Amari Hampton literally got flipped on his ass by Mike Sanders still. Welcome to the NFL indeed, right? They would temporarily be stopped. Yet it was Mike Sanders still himself getting called for offsides on this field goal attempt that allowed the Chargers to extend their drive. No worries. Ladd McConkey was just going to sneak into the back of the end zone and get himself just open without anyone really accounting for him for the easiest touchdown catch he'll probably have of his life, to give the Chargers the first score to start out the game. Chargers defense was also suffocating Jayden Daniels in this Commanders offense to start out the game. I'm not going to lie to you. Not only did they force a 3-and-out here, but also following a field goal drive from the Chargers. I don't know. Like, it was just a weird spot for Jayden Daniels to be in. And with some of the shit that I was seeing, like, you still have got to do a much better job of protecting him. You already see how big the brace is that he was wearing coming into this game. You already noted that he was coming off of injury and that you missed him severely while he was hurt. And yet you have him out here fucking slipping and sliding all over the place in a way that could potentially make him re-injure that same area of his body. And that would not have been a fun time for any Commanders fan anywhere. At least he was able to walk off the field in somewhat full strength and just live to see another day, right? But they did have to, like, wrap up his ankle again, I believe. It just, like, that's what it's all about when it comes to Jayden Daniels, man. Like, yes, he's a good quarterback, but, man, he will get put in some of the most comically bad situations when it comes to taking hits. And again, part of that is the doing of the offensive line, but part of that is like, my nigga, you gotta slide. You have to slide at this point. I don't know how many times we gotta say it, but you have got to slide, bro. There is no other way to put it. Still, fortunes would fare a little better for the Commanders. Yeah, they got some good work in this drive, getting another catch for Ladd McConkey and then picking up another first down with Amari Hampton out of the backfield, putting together some solid work. But it would be Quentin Johnston after a catch, fumbling the football, and having Marshawn Lattimore recover it to give the Commanders some new life here. And before you knew it, they were rallying back. Now, Jayden Daniels was still going through some rough shit, but he would manage to get Jalen Lane on this catch, with him cooking none other than Benjamin St. Juste, the former Commander himself. And hey, Deebo Samuel Sr. would get involved on multiple reps here in a row before it became the Jacory Croskey-Merrit show, as he would just run into the end zone untouched for a 15-yard touchdown. It's like, okay, we're cooking up a little bit. They, for whatever reason, would trust Han Haskins to come in the game. And yet, that still didn't do enough for them, because they had already gotten, like, right after that, they'd get moved back, and the Chargers would have to punt yet again, giving the Commanders another shot to pull off a 2-minute drill here before capping off the second quarter. And they would do that with none other than Luke McCaffrey just hauling in a 50-yard catch. Absolute bomb from Jayden Daniels, by the way. And yet, Luke McCaffrey is literally out here just taking notes from the McCaffrey family at this point. Like, I don't know what it is, but he has been having some moments this season where he's taken a surge. All right, as soon as I start talking about Luke McCaffrey's bomb down the field en route to a 50-yard catch for him, niggas want to create a diversion to get me to stop talking about him. That ain't stopping fucking shit, nigga. Anyways, he'd end up getting that done. Though, to be honest, it's fair because in the first place, it probably shouldn't have even happened. There was a situation on the actual punt that the Chargers, had to pick up here. And in all honesty, Lad McConkey on this play did actually end up scoring a touchdown here. I mean, it was an electric punt return for him. Truly. Like, he just shook out all the fucking Commanders, gunners here, and even got a fucking hurdle on Tress Way before making his way into the end zone. But they would call one of the weakest roughing the punter penalties I've ever seen in my fucking life. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, the man barely touched him. And like, what the fuck is he supposed to do? His momentum is going to barrel him down into the punter. All he's trying to do is block the damn punt. He barely got touched, barely moved whatsoever, and yet flag roughing the punter. It was so weak. So honestly, this little diversion tactic was kind of fucking fair because it probably shouldn't have happened in the first place. But, you still got to have short-term memory if you're the Chargers defense. And for a kind of defense like this that rarely gives up the big play, that is not something that you can have in a situation like this. But it wouldn't stop there because Deebo Samuel Sr. would also get himself a nice route over the middle and pick up 22 yards of his own before having the Commanders spike the football and tie up the ball game that way. Completely changed the momentum of this one, and that would not change heading into the third quarter. Man, it's still the Jacory Croskey-Merrit special. Not only did he break open for a 28-yard catch on this possession, they just managed to leave him untouched. No linebacker was even remotely anywhere near him. And I'm like, that's a major mistake you're making. But he'd continue to make him pay as Croskey-Merrit would get the next couple of runs here, including a 5-yard touchdown run to give the Commanders the 17-10 advantage. And although the Chargers still had chance after chance after chance, man, their offense, since that last field goal, like, they completely stalled out. Completely stalled out. Like, we're going all the way back to their last score being with 3 minutes and 2 seconds left in the first quarter. They had not done anything since then, and that would not change. Not only did they have to punt here, but following a field goal drive from the Commanders, they would have no other choice following a Dorrance Armstrong sack on Herbert to be pushed even further back. Now, Lad McConkey would get them close to a first down conversion, but he was still short, and you would have Tyler Conklin. I don't know why they're trusting Tyler Conklin in this situation. And I personally thought they could have put in fucking Oronde Gadsden the second on this particular play right here in this package. Yet they chose not to. Pass goes incomplete, and the Commanders have a chance to put the game on ice, but they would not. For as good of a day as Jacory Croskey-Merrit had been having, a brutal mistake would nearly undo all of that, as T.R. Tart would get a great punch out of his own and just pick it right back up as well. You know you're an elite tracker of the football whenever you can recover your own forced fumble. But it's also got to take the right kind of bounce, too. That's understandable. The Chargers, if they were going to get back in this game, they had to respond here. And, I mean, they had the right idea in mind. They took 7 minutes off the clock. They moved slowly down the field, and they consistently could rely on one of their wide receivers. It was old reliable in Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnston actually managing the reel and fucking passes now to pick up first downs. Yet, they would switch over a little bit after a while, after another Keenan Allen conversion on third down. Kimani Vidal from Troy would actually get a couple of runs here. And although they got themselves in go-to-goal territory, Vidal would be stuffed in the backfield, forcing a 3rd and goal from the 4. And for whatever reason, maybe it was fair in the moment, seeing as you had just gotten tackled for loss, Chargers decided to throw the ball. And it got tipped up. And it would fall right into the hands of Mike Sanderstill, right at the 1-yard line. And that's just a backbreaker. So the Croskey-Merrit fumble wouldn't really mean much at all from that perspective. And possibly your last chance at even getting any kind of score ended in that kind of way. It's definitely unfortunate. And from there, the Commanders, man, they were on cruise control. Now, yes, they had a few penalties here and there, but they also were able to get a few to help extend their drive. You know, Croskey-Merrit would get them a few runs. Then you would also have Jaden Daniels' run followed up with a personal foul on Bonia. And from there, they would just keep it going. Yet another situation where Jaden Daniels could run, and while he did get it, I believe, they were initially pushed back. Yet, on the ensuing 3rd and 6, even though the pass sailed incomplete, they got still on pass interference, and before you knew it, we're just trickling down in terms of time left on the clock. The Chargers were certainly feeling it as they wasted all their timeouts with just around 3 minutes left in the ballgame. And then, this was really just the closeout session for the Commanders. You know, they'd run methodically a little bit. They'd run it past a 2-minute warning. And then, on 4th and 7, rather than kick field goal, Jaden Daniels said, fuck it. Deebo Samuel Sr.'s down there somewhere, and he lobbed it right over head of the defense for Deebo Samuel Sr. to catch an 8-yard touchdown and ultimately allow the Commanders to win 27-10. Think about that. Chargers went scoreless for that amount of time and allow 27 unanswered points to this Commanders offense. It's absolutely insane when you think about it. For the numbers here, Jaden Daniels, this was a rough return for him, to say the least. But at the end of the day, 231 yards, 57.7% completion, and a touchdown isn't terrible by any means, especially when your defense, a much vaunted Commanders defense at that, can keep the Chargers on ice for the remainder of that game. If only you could get that kind of stuff more often. Shit. As for Jacory Croskey-Merrit, the man would have 16 total touches for 150 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Deebo Samuel Sr. would have 8 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown as well. As for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, although he did start out the season this 3-0 record looking like an MVP candidate, the last couple of games have not really been all that good. 75.9% completion here, and 166 yards on 29 attempts is a little disproportionate. Had a touchdown and the unfortunate interception as well. But he also led in rushing with 60 yards. And again, I continue to say it. How sustainable is that? I don't know. You want to see him run the ball when he has the space to. No question about that. You don't want him to be a statue in the pocket. But, you've got to try to get some more energy out of your actual rushing attack. Keenan Allen would have 5 receptions for 58 yards, and Quentin Johnston would have 4 receptions for 40, while Ladd McConkey would have 5 receptions for 39 and a touchdown. Seriously, though. I guess Will Dissly is out at this time, too, so yeah, phase in Oronde Gadsden in second. Stop trying to rely on Tyler Conklin in 2025. Like, what the fuck are we doing? That shit makes no sense, man. Definitely a tough loss for the Chargers. And hey, the Commanders are back. You know, they got some things to work out for sure. But, you know, as long as they have Jaden Daniels back there and upright, it's going to be all good. Hey, at least in this game, he finally chose to slide. He's getting there. You know, it's going to be a learning process for the lad. Don't get me wrong. But he seems to be learning, or seems to be willing enough to want to slide. And that, in and of itself, is promising. Moving on to the Pats and the Bills. I did think, admittedly, it was a weird-ass choice for a Sunday Night Football game. But, it ended up paying off, I guess? For context, by this point, no team outside of the Bills had been undefeated anymore. So, I guess if anyone had a shot at still going undefeated on the season, it all came down to whatever the Bills were going to put on display on Sunday night. Honestly, as soon as you get the first play going for the Pats to start out this game, and you have Stefon Diggs immediately getting a fucking short route and shaking Taron Johnson out of his fucking shoes, just stepping back, making him freeze up and getting some extra yards on a 15-yard gain. You had to have imagined that we were going to be in for something, but it did take a while to figure out exactly what. At least for all of the offensive-minded fans out there. If you are a defensive-centric kind of person, or you favor the defense, oh yeah, the way that this is going in the first half is definitely suitable to your liking. Greg Rousseau is obviously a tremendous edge rusher. In just a few plays following that pickup, he would get Drake Maye in the backfield. You know, he was just hanging on to the ball for too much. And if you're going to give Rousseau that much time to creep around the edge, like, he literally just beats the tackle immediately. And at that point, Drake Maye is just dead to rights, bro. He stands no chance. So the Pats would punt the ball. The Bills, outside of what would be a recurring theme for both teams, honestly, the Dalton Kincaid broken play. Like, there were literally 3 different sequences I pointed out early in this game where Kincaid just breaks loose for a huge gain. And 2 of them happen on this damn drive alone. Like, on 3rd and long, for example, because I guess that was more eventful, you have Josh Allen essentially sacked. There's nothing open at this point. So he's scrambling, he's trying to bail out and make something happen. Tell me why Dalton Kincaid is able to adjust to the scramble drill and get wide open over the middle of the field for a 20-yard gain with no one covering him at all. That was a bit of a problem. But outside of that, it was relatively slow for the Bills offense. And yes, they would actually fumble. With Josh Allen giving the ball away to the rookie and Farmer, he would become important later on, by the way. And yet, in a shocking twist of fate, or maybe not if you're a Patriots fan, Ramondre Stevenson coughed up the ball again. Now, again, you have to give credit to Shaq Thompson. And again, I kept on saying S. Thompson the whole time. That was clearly Shaq Thompson. Definitely pulled out a vintage move there, just ripping the ball out of Ramondre Stevenson's hands and getting the ball on the ground, allowing Bernard to recover it. But it's like, man, do you know that the Bills have been that protective of the ball across this entire season? Rarely do they find themselves in spots where they turn it over. And yet, as soon as you make that happen, you give them the ball right back. and don't make him pay for anything at all. Still, Pat's defense held strong enough, with Marcus Jones, surprisingly on this third down, actually keeping right up with Keon Coleman on this play. And I was surprised. Marcus Jones, again, like I said, he is a corner and I guess a special teamer, in fact, when you look at some of the punt returns. He's been a little underrated, to be completely honest with you. He does some solid work over there. He might not be a household name, but man, he is a fucking dog, to say the least. So he swats this ball away, and then the Bills punt it back. But the Patriots can't do much of anything about this either. And again, for all the people out there, honestly, could you sit here and say that the Bills, for at least a little bit of time, didn't look like their traditional selves? Maybe you could make that argument, but at the same time, you can't try to make this all about the Bills coming out looking inferior without focusing on how good the Patriots defense has been, and more specifically, how all of these additions in the offseason have found different ways to help them sustain excellent play. As I've already said, man, Robert Spillane has proven himself to be one of the best linebackers in the league. So it shouldn't come as a surprise to you that he gets his arm hooked right into Coleman's body on this play, forcing a fumble on Coleman in their own territory and giving the Patriots the ball back inside the red zone with the rookie and Jalen Hawkins recovering it. Truthfully. That's just one example. But, you just have to keep that in mind and keep that consistent. It's just not all about the Bills struggling out of the gates. You gotta have a defense willing to put up that kind of resistance against this team. Even if they could have been in a better, routine still. Patriots, though, again, you want to at least get a score out of it, but damn, a touchdown would be preferred if you're starting inside the 11-yard line, and yet they lose yardage. But Borregales did get the field goal to give them the 3-0 lead to start out. And you would move into the second quarter following this with, again, Allen just continuing to find the most creative ways to get Dalton Kincaid the ball. Now, again, a lot of these plays on the initial read were just not there, and yet the improvisation, the connection between those two was certainly on point, even early on as the Bills are still struggling to move the ball down the field a little bit. But naturally, you're going to have to spread it around, and Josh Palmer would actually get on the board for the reception on this drive to push them closer and closer into Patriots territory here. But eventually, they would be stopped just short and have to be pushed back, forcing Matt Prater to kick a field goal. Though again, with him being in 31 yards in this case, that's range for him. He can still make that even at his ripe old age. No issue with that whatsoever. It got to a point where I guess Antonio Gibson just kind of went through something unfortunate. I was wondering what the hell was going on. And I'm like, yet again, you have another case with another fucking New England running back fumbling the ball. Again, in reality, it's a good play by Cam Lewis. Luckily, Trevion Henderson was there to recover it. But then you saw Antonio Gibson stay down for an extended period of time. And I was like, okay, I'm wondering what's going on. And then he's like stumbling. He's trying to move. He has to get helped off the field. And it would later be detailed by Schefter, I believe, that he suffered a torn ACL in that moment, and Gibson is going to miss the rest of the season. I mean, I guess that made sense, especially when you consider that Trevion Henderson got some work in on this drive. because right, you don't have a lot of other options right now as it is. But Stefon Diggs again continued to put together some solid work. I mean, after all, this is his former team. You know, he was legitimately getting conversations as a top 10 wide receiver as a Bill. So you could argue that his time there had to have been one of the highlights of his career at this point. He was naturally looking for revenge, seeing as he, like, I don't know, I'm not going to say that it's been downhill, but obviously between lesser contributions and obviously the injury last season, that kind of halted any progress he really could have made last year. I don't know, this felt like a long time coming. He was certainly going to bring the energy, but again, as I stated as well, he would probably want the win even more. They'd still have to do some work for that, though, because they would give the ball back, and the Bills, despite getting a decent pair of runs from both Josh Allen and James Cook, especially with the Josh Allen ones, I mean, like, those were nearly identical, and they ended up in exactly the same spot. All because you have your defenders taking a bad angle against a man in Josh Allen who is just 6'5", strong as shit, and yet is moving out here with some of the fastest agility for any person of that size. It's damn near unfair. Of course, again, everybody's going to want to compare this stuff to Lamar Jackson. I mean, I guess I can kind of see it. But again, it's going to look a little different from both of those guys. And yes, obviously, people still are up in arms because of the fact that Josh Allen got MVP last year and Lamar Jackson didn't. But, I mean, that's a different story for a different day. Anyways, they would punt the ball away as well with a good combo sack from both new addition Milton Williams from the Eagles and also rookie Jalen Hawkins as well. They would have to put together a solid drive, and honestly, the Patriots did here. You know, Trevion Henderson got the shit started with a good run that makes you wonder why they don't give him more of a fucking opportunity in the first place. But then he would also get the ball to Demario Douglas, and Drake Maye also had a dime of a fucking throw to Hunter Henry over to the left side of the field. Did a great job of high pointing the ball, and they were just cooking from there. They were in yet another situation with goal-to-go territory, and due to penalty, it damn near got fucked up before they got bailed out with a Tre'Davious White PI. And he was trying to look around, confused as hell as to why he got the call. Like, no, you know you're supposed to turn your head around in that situation. Why the fuck? You're just looking straight at Stefon Diggs trying to guard him. I understand you want to account for him, but come on, man. Anyways, they would get some tough luck because Hunter Henry, as rare as this is going to sound, he dropped a pass from a single yard out. They would have to settle for another field goal, but hey, Berghaus is automatic. He would get it again. And I guess the Bills decided at halftime they needed to wake up, so they did right that. Yet another broken play to Dalton Kincaid would come this time from 20 yards. And they would capitalize on a mistake from Harold Landry III, eventually getting Curtis Samuel, of all people, a touchdown. Now, I will say that I didn't watch the full third quarter live. But I did see this in post, and it was honestly a creative way to get him the ball. They lined him up like he was Debo Samuel Sr. in the backfield. But no Patriots backer, D-back, even so much as got a body on him. And it's like, well, that was a mistake. You know Curtis Samuel, even at this point, is still pretty fast in his own right. That's just not someone you can give space. Like, even if he is not considered an elite wide receiver, he's always going to be a threat in that regard. And he made him pay there. The Patriots would waste no time responding in their own right. And I'm not going to lie, although I didn't see this live, this play is one that I would have to mention. Like, it just deserves that respect. Because watching it in post, it was an absolute dime. And just, like, man, Drake Maye at multiple points in this game just put some stuff on display that showcases that, hey, even if he did have his struggles last season, man, he is taking some tremendous fucking strides. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. And when you look at it, his game in totality, man, it was honestly a fine performance from him. Like, he's rising up, man. What can you say? I mean, this throw was fucking wild. Okay, he's scrambling out to his right because the pocket's collapsing. And at this same time, you have Stefon Diggs kind of running a deep route. And it's initially stuffed. You have Taylor Rapp all over it. So as the scramble drill's going down, he kind of fakes as if he's coming back to the ball. And then he gets Taylor Rapp on a good fucking double move, hustles back up the field, and veers over to the corner. As soon as he makes that spin, it felt like Drake Maye just decided to launch it right then and right there. That's one that you have to throw with anticipation. Because they also, as they slow-moed it down, they noted that there was a different zone safety in the area attempting to work the absolute hell out of that if it wasn't thrown on top. So when you are trying to be that anticipatory, throwing it right at that point is key. Maye did it. It comes nearly over to the sideline in a place where only Stefon Diggs can get it. And he hauled that shit in. I'm not going to lie. That shit was clean. And they made the most out of it as Ramondre Stevenson, despite a rough night and a very odd output, he would actually score a touchdown to give them the lead back. Then, to make matters even better for the Pats here, the Bills were definitely driving down the field, but they would eventually be stopped by none other than McCorkle Jones, getting them an interception and having to start their drive from the 10-yard line, their own 10-yard line. Now, I got back in at this point to see this drive go down, but that was going to be the key. All right, you forced a good amount of turnovers on the Bills to this point, which is, again, something that's been rare for them this season. And to have an interception there in that moment is great, but could you truly make the most out of forcing that takeaway? Could you actually score a touchdown on that drive to give yourself all the momentum imaginable on this play? And it's safe to say that they would do just that yet again. It was the damn Stefon Diggs show early on. And then you also had Hunter Henry pick up a nice chunk of yardage here to get them inside the Bills' 35-yard line. But Stefon Diggs just kept it going. Got him a damn short pass, and bro, he just started taking off and running. Like, it felt like he was really trying to get in that end zone on that play. But he was stopped just short. That ended up being all good, though, as Ramondre Stevenson would actually punch it in, and they would actually pull it off, giving themselves a damn 10-point lead at essentially the start of the fourth quarter. The Bills are too good of a team, though, that you're not going to really keep down forever. Like I said, man, Dalton Kincaid is an absolute fucking weapon. He just would not stop hauling in catches. And it's like you've gotten so accustomed to that as a Bills fan that you forgot about Dawson Knox. He would get himself at least a good catch on this drive. Man, 2019, 2020 Dawson Knox, man. Hey, bro. That was a time, but Kincaid is here now. It's a wild dynamic. It was a wild dynamic as soon as they got Kincaid in 2023, but he has been consistently working his way up there. So I guess it was really only a matter of time. It's like, fuck it, man. You know? What can I say? Nonetheless, it would actually be, after a few runs, Keon Coleman to get them in the end zone for a touchdown. Now, at this point, Keon Coleman had been largely underutilized. And I mean, I guess one of the few receptions he did have a chance of getting, well, he fumbled away. So that's definitely unfortunate. But they ran a good concept here. They had him kind of serve as a viable alternative to a pair of flat routes in that area of the field. Got him in the back of the end zone. And Gonzalez, I guess this was Carlton Davis the third, rather. It was a bit of a rougher night for him, by the way, being a new addition from the Lions. Definitely a rougher night. And that would certainly come to be the case, no lie. But he was out of position, and by the time he tried to recover, it was too late. Bills would force a 3-and-out, and then the Bills would try to get a money drive going. Like I said, they got down to 3rd and 6, and then Keon Coleman just turned into an absolute big body. That is the kind of wide receiver that he can be. Like, he quite literally just goes up and fucking mosses the shit out of Carlton Davis III. He tried to go up and deflect the pass, but Keon Coleman, he is just too physical of a wide receiver for that shit. It was not enough. Got a 13-yard gain on that, and they kept on moving the ball down the field. But they would be stopped with 3 straight incompletions, and eventually have to have Matt Prater kick a 45-yard field goal to tie up the ball game. Once again, could the Patriots in this situation, they got the first wave of trouble out of the way. Could they finish off this game with their defense keeping them in it like this? The answer was yes, though it nearly got bad before it could really even take off, because Daquan Jones had Drake Maye's number almost immediately. Like, he was damn near insta-sacked. And yet you literally see, and this was the play of the night for me, you see Drake Maye literally utilize his left hand to try to stave Jones out for as long as he can, while Jones is getting ever so close to pinning him on the ground. And what does Drake Maye do as he's getting damn near dragged all the way to the ground? He manages to get the pass off from the lowest trajectory possible, from the smallest window imaginable, to Stefon Diggs. And he's able to add some more rack to the catch, getting 12 yards out of the play. Truly a tremendous play that helped them to get their drive going. And it would get even better with a nice throw to the side to Kayshon Boutte. From there, it put the Bills on the defensive. They had to start wasting their timeouts, and you would have them, the Patriots, just run the ball. Because at that point, you had all the advantage in the world. Like, you didn't need to put the ball in harm's way anymore. As long as you protected the fucking ball, running was a fine option here. They did that, and eventually the clock down to 20 seconds, with Andres Bargalis getting a 52-yard field goal in to give the Patriots a lead and potentially give them an upset, barring anything crazy from the Bills, which would not happen. And so the Patriots would win 23-20. Like I said, Drake Maye's game was exceptional in this one. 273 yards on 73.3% completion. Now, no, he didn't have a touchdown pass or an interception. So, I guess just because that was the case, it's like, oh, okay, he didn't do shit. Yeah, okay. You just gotta go back and watch the game. Like, yes, you want to see touchdowns put up by a quarterback in this climate. I understand it. But he, man, under duress, In the pocket, outside of the numbers, man, you could look at it from any different approach. He did just about everything he needed to do, and in moments, and then some, in this damn game. And it helped the Patriots come out on top here. Now, Travion Henderson was the leader amongst rushers in terms of yardage, but it was Ramondre Stevenson with his 7 rushes and 14 yards who would get the touchdowns for the Patriots in this ball game. Yeah, I don't know how that's just one of the wildest shits. That's one of the wildest shits you'll ever see, man. Stefon Diggs had 10 receptions for 146 yards, which actually, with that, did end up giving him his most receiving yards in a game since 2022, his first sequence of back-to-back 100-yard games since 2023, and also gave him the most receiving yards by any former Bills player against Buffalo. Truly a great night for him. Hunter Henry had 2 receptions for 46 yards, and Kayshon Boutte had 3 receptions for 43. As for Josh Allen, is he back to the Jekyll and Hyde shit, or is this an anomaly? It's probably an anomaly. But again, the key to this is not to let it become a pattern, because as soon as that does, that could derail a season for any player on any team. Genuinely. Like, the Bills definitely could have won this game still. But, I wouldn't really panic too much here. You just gotta, again, be a lot more centered than whatever is going on in this game. He had a combined 306 yards and 2 touchdown passes with the interception on 71% completion. But again, whenever you can make a mistake like that and lose the turnover battle, more often than not, no matter how good you are, you're probably bound to lose that game. It was a struggle for James Cook III, actually. His streak of 100-yard rushing games ends. His streak of games with a touchdown run ends as well. And you have to give the Patriots defense a tremendous amount of credit for that as well. He still got a decent share of the carries and got a decent amount of carries, yet was not as effective as he typically would be. That's not all just on potential blocking. No, that is the defense first in the action in making him a non-factor. Dalton Kincaid, though, again, like I said, automatic. Caught all 6 of his targets and got 108 yards on the night, while Khalil Shakir would have 6 receptions for 45 yards of his own. And with that, for the first time as well, per a different article from NFL.com, since 2014, there are no more undefeated teams in the NFL entering this next week football. But you do still have the Jets being shit, I think they may well, not to spoil much, they may well be the only team in the league right now without a win. That is a problem. That's a bad thing. That's a very bad thing. There is no way that should be the case, bro. That is some kind of embarrassing, to say the least. And moving on to the action on Monday Night Football between the Chiefs and the Jags. It was looking very good, honestly, for the Chiefs, despite a potential injury scare at some point with Xavier Worthy and an early stop in which Travis Hunter, we know what Travis Hunter's on, but he actually guarded Travis Kelce and succeeded, and that could pose a little questionable. But yeah, no, the Chiefs got it going pretty much instantly as this first quarter went on and a couple of different possessions took place. They just had to get some things figured out, and honestly, it would just start out as well as you could. Anytime you can get Xavier Worthy out in space against a D lineman in the backfield and he's not got a proper angle of pursuit, I don't care what defensive lineman you are. You're not keeping up with Xavier Worthy. So you get right near a first down. And I guess all that progress, even with Isaiah Pacheco getting a few runs in as well, and Kareem Hunt, even on a few occasions on this night, trying to take it back to the damn rookie prime Kareem Hunt, right? You'd still have Marquise Brown just chipping away at the slot corner in Jordan Lewis, and he threw a punch. They're always going to get the person who retaliates. And Brown, I guess, chose to. They were barking at each other. And Marquise Brown wasn't going to take that shit. So he smacked him and pushed him back 15 yards. It's like, come on, man. There's no way. But, yeah, Mahomes as well would have multiple sequences in this time, like Justin Herbert, where, again, you are climbing the pocket. You are embracing the pressure and, again, allowing it to come to you, but then forcing the action by stepping up, keeping pocket presence, maintaining poise, and then delivering a throw. Like this damn third and long, again, they damn near had Mahomes in the backfield, almost got buried, and still he was able to get the throw off to an open Tyquan Thornton for a 32-yard gain. They would eventually get into a goal-to-go situation, and this play came under a little bit of scrutiny because Travis Kelce would get in the end zone for a touchdown, and they tried to call this offensive pass interference because essentially they felt as though Juju Smith-Schuster in that moment restricted the opportunity of the cornerback to even get over to Kelce. It was supposed to work as a pick route, and I guess whether forcefully or not, Juju Smith-Schuster just stops on his route and essentially blocks him. Now, I was saying that if he had gone over like a yard or so past the line of scrimmage and did this, I could see how that would be a call for OPI. But at the same time, this was at the 2-yard line. Juju Smith-Schuster was in the same relative area, so he didn't really move up all that much. And so they would eventually overturn it and grant the Chiefs the touchdown to give them a lead. The Jags themselves would get in some interesting territory. I mean, you would have them get all the way down to the Kansas City 1-yard line, in fact. They got Brian Thomas Jr. on this crossing route to help them out while having Travis Etienne Jr. as well pick up some more yardage for them. But this would come down to Trevor Lawrence. And let's just say that he did not succeed. Because Nick Bolton, doing what it is that Nick Bolton does on this 4th and goal, would manage to get his hand up, meet his completely at the summit with Trevor Lawrence's attempt to dive into the end zone and over everybody. His hand jams the ball, pushes it back, and it ends up being a fumble with George Karlaftis recovering it at essentially the 2-yard line. It's like, that was a tremendous save. They challenged it, and that stood. Because, again, just before the ball could even break the plane, he pushed it right back. It was close, admittedly, but he got the better end of it right there. And from there, the Chiefs would have a great drive going. I ain't gonna lie, I thought Kareem Hunt was gonna haul ass on this run. Damn, 33 yards, and it came down to Andrew Wingard of all safeties tackling him in the open field. I'm like, there's no way. But at the very least, for a glimmer of a moment, man, again, vintage Kareem Hunt. Truly crazy stuff. You then have Marquise Brown get active in space, doing what he does best. I mean, the fact that both Tyson Campbell and the sure tackler usually, and Foyesade Oluokun, would both get completely shaken. Like, that was damn embarrassing. And, again, on what was a short pass, he was able to pick up 16 yards. Then it came down to Mahomes again, climbing the pocket, throwing an off-platform pass to Tyquan Thornton again, who at this point had 3 receptions for like 90 yards or something. Wild night. It came down to Mahomes himself punching it in with a run, though, from 9 yards out. And they would give themselves a 14-0 lead. It was looking just a little scary for the Jags here. But not to worry. Right after, they started to get it going. It did help that Jalen Watson had a defensive pass interference on what was initially a 3rd and long, and that would extend their drive. But hey, you gotta have that in your favor sometimes. Trevor Lawrence also, again, even if the numbers might not do him enough justice, man, he had some plays in this game where you actually could tell that, hey, this guy was a number 1 overall pick, and he does, in fact, have generational talent. For all the shit that I was talking about, saying, oh, are they going to actually let him go out here and play like he's a generational talent, or are they going to treat him like a game manager? And they just went out and went like, yes. They let him do whatever it is he wanted to out there. And it would, again, to think that they would rely on Trevor Lawrence just being himself at a point where they were already down by 14 points could have been a little ballsy. But at the same time, it worked immediately as he was able to get Parker Washington on a sort of out route from 3 yards out to give them a 14-7 deficit to face here. And the Jags would actually pick it up on defense. They'd force them to punt the Chiefs. And, I mean, I guess the Giants tried to put something together at the end of the half, but they didn't get enough as, well, one, you had a penalty set them back even further after a promising first play, and then Trevor Lawrence would subsequently be sacked for more yardage. So there wasn't even much time to do anything. This third quarter ended up being all Jags. All Jags. I mean, you just got to think about it this way. Not only did the Chiefs go 3 and out to start out this half, but they also, good things happen when you throw Travis Hunter the ball, and my goodness, a good fucking thing happened. He mossed the shit out of fucking Brian Cook in double coverage for a 44-yard chunk play down the field to get them even closer. And I'm like, at that point, this is what Travis Hunter can do. Give him the ball right back. They did. And they got a penalty tacked onto it. Eventually, though, Trevor Lawrence himself would take it up the gut, untouched, for a 10-yard touchdown run to tie up the ball game. And then the Jags themselves would have to play a little defense. It took a little while because the Chiefs, admittedly, they were making their strides down the field. They've been doing an exceptional job of using Brashard Smith out of the backfield as a receiving back. And honestly, that is kind of what he was doing at SMU last season. So that might not really come as a surprise to people of those fan bases. But it, again, helped them get deeper into Jacksonville territory. And from there, while they got in a goal-to-go situation, Patrick Mahomes definitely fucked up with his timing here. Little did he know that as he was trying to go for one of those gimme curl routes, you gotta throw that on time. You have to. And he failed to do so, allowing the leader, or the co-leader in interceptions in the NFL, in Devin Lloyd, to work up and get a damn 99-yard touchdown on an interception return to give the Jags the lead just like that. And it looked damn near like they had him on the ropes. Because, as you know, Mahomes would have a few plays where he'd still get Xavier Worthy involved very well. Man, their defense forced the Chiefs into some mistakes, whether it was penalty, especially this damn delay of game here, or whether it was, again, just containing Mahomes enough to ensure that they could get the ball back and not even have to worry about a potential fourth down attempt, which would happen here. All the Jags had to do in this situation was protect the ball. I mean, you got everything that you needed out of that sequence. You just had to ensure that this possession could be drawn out for a long period of time to keep the Chiefs at bay. That would not happen. As tough as this would be, Trevor Lawrence would actually have a glaring mistake here. They sent the pressure perfectly with Karlaftis getting right in his face, and Trent McDuffie would actually prove that he's the top corner on the team, getting an interception here and giving the Chiefs a short field to work with. From there, they would actually have Kareem Hunt run for a 5-yard gain to bang it in to the end zone and get him at a 3-point deficit, rather. The Jags themselves would respond with a field goal in due time, though. And at least Cam Little made it. But that just gave the Chiefs ample time to do what it is they do best. And they damn near put the game away. 6-minute, 23-second drive that saw them drive 86 yards down the field. And again, just methodical plays, your typical breakdown leading to a Mahomes scramble for about 10 to 15 yards would happen earlier in the drive, and they would continue to have the chemistry going with Travis Kelce, who I think caught, at a time he caught every single one of his targets. That might have stood true by the end of this game, but hey, there you go, right? And, yeah, the deep ball for Mahomes, at least if there is one thing to take away from this, if you're a Chiefs fan, I mean, that was looking a little better tonight. Whether it was Tyquan Thornton or whether it was Marquise Brown here hauling in one for 20 yards, even though it was challenged, they would give it to him anyways. And from there, it was Kareem Hunt getting them into the end zone again with a lead. Well, little did we know that they gave the Jags way too much time. And this is where things really heated up for Trevor Lawrence, man. This damn scramble for 6 yards is a little bit misleading. Man, there were multiple attempts to just sack him and bury him in the backfield, and he escaped all of it to get them even more of a chance. Then he would not avoid the pressure here with cousin. Karlaftis is just he's too fucking good. All right, you just got to make that clear. But on this damn 3rd and long, he would uncork a fucking rocket to Brian Thomas Jr. And it was so contested. But he pulled it off regardless and managed to get a first down out of it. He would then get another throw to the opposite sideline to De'Ami Brown here. All of a sudden, it looked like the Jags might actually be able to pull off a little bit of an upset. And yet it nearly got interesting as on this 3rd and long, eventually, Brian Cook would intercept the pass, but Connor, once again, for as decent as he can be sometimes, like Cook, he will just get picked on ad nauseum, man. It sucks to see, but when you're playing the corner position that weekly, well, it's par for the course, I guess. They would get him on a PI, and that would give the Jags a tremendous opportunity to just go with a goal-to-go offense. Now, this is where the wild shit would happen, because you would have Trevor Lawrence trip on his own O-lineman, and back-to-back, 2 times, he tried to get back up on his back, stumbled to the ground. It was hard for him to recover at that point. I get it. And man, the Jags have been through too much shit over the years. So I know that as soon as he fucking tripped over and failed to get back up those couple times, I know that they were literally dropping to the floor, okay? They could not take that shit in that moment if they would have lost that game off that shit. Miraculously, there wasn't really any Chiefs defender in the area or anywhere close enough to Trevor Lawrence to actually tackle. So he had enough time to get back up, and he would. He had some open grass in front of him, and as one Chiefs defender tried to make the play, it wasn't enough. He shook it right off and dove into the end zone for a touchdown to take the lead late. Like, what? The Jags pulling that off and having that go their way? That is very rare, to say the least. But they made it fucking happen. You can't knock that. They got it done. That's all you can ask for at the end of the day. And I mean, hey, man. Like, it was wild, bro. Now, the Chiefs, again, they would naturally not really be able to do much of anything on the ensuing possession because, I don't know, it was just ran very weirdly. But the Jags, man, shockingly, got a 31-28 victory against this team. And as a graphic mentioned on the broadcast, that would be their first win against them since November of 2009. Man, that is crazy. That's crazy, to say the least, bro. My goodness. Wow. The numbers, again, 221 yards passing and 72% completion with a touchdown, an interception, and 2 rushing touchdowns with 54 yards. Actually, a legitimate performance from Trevor Lawrence. Even if the numbers might not jump off the charts for you, man. It looked, especially that last drive. I mean, obviously, that's going to be what sticks with people the most, but, man, it was truly a good gameplay by him. The run took a little bit of a step back, although they still averaged 4.2 yards per carry as a team and still had 109 yards rushing in total. But again, good things happen when you actually distribute the ball to your wide receivers. Brian Thomas Jr. had 4 receptions for 80 yards in this game, but it was Travis Hunter who showcased just exactly what he can pull off when you give him the ball in space in any capacity. He's going to make this shit happen. Not only did he have that aforementioned 44-yard haul down the field, but there was also a different situation where they got very creative in using him. I don't think I mentioned it, but they essentially lined him up in the backfield like he was Deebo Samuel, and with nobody really guarding him up, man-to-man directly, they got him out in space, and he just juked multiple defenders en route to getting the extra yardage he needed for the first down here. He also played multiple snaps on coverage as well. Again, obviously, you'll look to the Kelsey rep, but they had him match up against Xavier Worthy a few times as well. And again, I feel like that's something that should ramp up over time. I can get, to an extent, them wanting to take it easy on him at the start of the season. But, bro, you just got to let him go and ball out. Like, we know what he's capable of once that happens. You just have to give him a chance. But I guess they're not, like, too much in a hurry for it. Like, as Gladstone himself literally said as soon as he got drafted in that presser, man, like, they know they have a special talent on their hands. So it's like, you know, it'll definitely ramp up more. I could definitely sit here and tell you that right now. As for the Chiefs, Mahomes himself had 318 yards passing on 70.7% completion and a touchdown and an interception with 60 rushing yards and a touchdown as well. Like I said, the run game overall was good. 158 yards and 7.2 yards per carry for a Chiefs offense is unlike something you've seen in a long time. But again, how much are you really trying to put on Mahomes in terms of overall tread when it comes to this? Like I keep saying, you want to get this production more out of your running backs. Now again, they have fine games. Kareem Hunt had 7 rushes for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I don't know, at some point they've got to be feeling as though they need like a true lead back. Because honestly, it felt like Pacheco could take that over, but with the injury last season, it's just constantly flipped, and they've never really been able to figure it out since then. Tyquan Thornton, like I said, 3 receptions, 90 yards at that point. But Kelsey had 7 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. Hollywood Brown had 4 receptions for 48 yards and a touchdown. And Xavier Worthy had a combined 7 touches for 51 yards. All right. Well, that'll do it for all the games that I watched live. To move on to this London action between the Browns and the Vikings. This shit was not Dillon Gabriel's fault. It's not. Honestly, from what I saw with what I was tracking, he played okay. But you know how low the fucking bar is for Browns quarterbacks in this day and age. If I'm not mistaken, the fact that this man, Dillon Gabriel, had 2 or more passing touchdowns in his debut as a starter or something might have made him the first Browns quarterback to do that in their debut as a rookie starter since 2008. That is how you fucking know. Shit has just been in the fucking dumps for this goddamn team. But again, I don't need to sit here and tell you that. They actually had some things go right for them in this game. You thought it would have been over as soon as they got this touchdown to Njoku in the third quarter, and yet after that, they really couldn't sustain many more drives outside of it. Njoku definitely had his finest performance of the season with 6 receptions and 67 yards and a touchdown, while Quinshon Judkins played exceptionally well, man. 24 total touches and 128 yards for him on the game. And still, you find a way to just lose. Because you couldn't guard up Carson Wentz and that Vikings offense in the clutch. What? Like, something like that just seems inexcusable. Apparently, Jordan Addison had gotten benched earlier in the game and managed to not only work his way back into it, but then completely get past all of the defense while getting his 12-yard touchdown catch in like the corner of the end zone. I don't know how acceptable that truly is. Wasn't just Carson Wentz out here throwing passes though, even though he had 73.5% completion for 236 yards and a touchdown pass to the aforementioned Addison. No, it was Cameron Akers apparently getting a fucking double play, or a double pass rather, and just actually throwing a great one to Josh Oliver for a touchdown. In fact, he ended with a perfect quarterback rating. Just add to the madness in London right now. Justin Jefferson had 7 receptions for 123 yards as well in this game. And ironically, one of the sticking points for this ballgame and even the Cowboys-Jets ballgame, just again, add in even more madness, was the fact that multiple sky cams just got dinged by footballs. Yeah, multiple. Now, the one that I did see live that happened in the Cowboys and Jets game was actually pretty fucking funny. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I don't know. It just You have the ball bouncing right up off of Dante Fowler Jr.'s head, and then it just hangs in the air for an absurdly long amount of time, and bam, smashes right into the damn camera. Now, I'm not really sure what exactly happened in the Vikings-Browns game, but the fact that that happened multiple times in one slate of games is pretty interesting, depending on how you look at it. I don't know. Just a really weird point to bring up, but fuck it. That's why you gotta love ball. Another really weird point to bring up. Envision yourself being a backup running back for a majority of the season because of the existing core that they have there. And then, obviously, with one player being out, you're going to see more of an opportunity. And you make the absolute most out of it. Well, that would seem to happen for Rico Dowdle in this game against the Dolphins. And I'll get to what those numbers look like in a second. But just think about this. I was tracking this game, and the fucking Dolphins were up 17-0. Okay? Tua Tagovailoa actually was playing well and did end up with a good game overall. And yet, somehow, someway, they allowed the Panthers to creep back into this ball game over the next 2 quarters and some change, to take the lead back and give themselves a 27-24 win. How the fuck is that possible? How? You didn't end up getting a touchdown here, which I guess saw Jalen Waddle get a 46-yard catch for one. You didn't do that until you absolutely and desperately needed to do it, because they had already taken it back at that point. And I don't know how the fuck that is. Like, that is just embarrassing shit if you are a Dolphins fan, man. And again, it was looking so well without your core guy in Tyreek Hill. And you still don't come out on top. That's gotta suck, man. But what a win for Bryce Young as well. I mean, he had thrown an interception in that stretch. And again, he helped this team rally all the way back with 198 yards, 2 touchdowns of his own, and 63.3% completion. Tyrell McMillan also continues to lead the way with 6 receptions for 73 yards, while Xavier Legette had 2 receptions for 31 yards and a touchdown. And yet again, the story of the game was Rico Dowdle. Now again, as much credit as you might want to give Bryce Young in this situation, if you can have a balanced attack where you know that you're getting this kind of contribution from Rico fucking Dowdle, it's definitely going to make it easier on you as a quarterback to scan the field, to open up some passing lanes for you, and to continue to carve up the defense, slice them up on your way down the field. Like this man Rico Dowdle popped off for combined fucking 26 total touches and 234 yards and a rushing touchdown, including 206 on the ground. That is by far the best performance that he has ever had in his fucking career. I can sit here and tell you that right now. Even if he was a solid quarterback, well, running back rather, for the Cowboys, bro, there was not a game of this kind for him. 9 yards a pop with that kind of volume and that kind of efficiency. I mean, jeez. Who had that on their bingo card? Who had that shit on their bingo card, man? I can't sit here and say that I did. But I'll tell you, it worked for the Panthers, who now notched their 2nd win of the season in the unlikeliest of ways. And again, just thinking about that makes absolutely no sense. You're telling me that the Dolphins literally just coming off their first win last week, right? And they fucking get into this game with a chance to extend that, to compound a little winning streak. You drop to the fucking Panthers. I don't know how many times I gotta say it. Like, it's embarrassing, dude. Fuck. Like, come on, man. Anyways, all right. As for the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa would have 256 yards passing with 3 touchdown passes on 75% completion. As for the receiving game, Jalen Waddle had 6 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown, and Darren Waller had 5 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. There's definitely a struggle in the rushing game for De'Von Achane. I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't. 16 rushing yards is pretty fucking crazy, but you could surmise that it's the same stuff going on every single time. Between them potentially struggling to block Big Derek Brown in the middle of that D-line, or again, De'Von Achane potentially missing some opportunities to exploit the right gaps. It was not a good performance there, but he did still manage to have 6 receptions for 30 yards and a touchdown in this one. So that was somewhat okay. Again, far from what they needed in terms of trying to win this game. Yo, like, just... Man, oh man, because I just gotta tie all this shit together, okay? I just have to, bro. Alright, Colts and Raiders, bro. Yo, at what point, because I've been watching the NFL for more than a fucking decade at this point, man. We're going on fucking 13 years in just a few weeks or so. I could never have imagined that in the same weekend stretch you would have Bill Belichick get absolutely boat raced by Dabo Swinney and Clemson. That game. I think, like, what? That was already some bullshit. Then you have fucking John Harbaugh, as I mentioned earlier with the Ravens game, just getting his ass kicked and having the team get their ass kicked. And then you get to fucking Pete Carroll losing by 34 points to the Colts, bro. What the fuck is happening to the game that I love so much? There's no way. Like, there's literally no way. And it all starts, like, I'm not gonna lie, I respect Geno. I love Geno, but what the fuck was this performance, man? What was this shit, bro? Two interceptions in 228 yards on 69.4% completion. Like, a lot of that probably came from garbage time. Now, again, the Colts defense is exceptional. You have to give them credit there. Like, again, even without watching the game live, like, you know they have tremendous players on that side of the ball, whether it be Zaire Franklin as a short tackler, whether it be Travarius Ward as a lockdown corner, whether it be Cameron Bynum as just a really smart safety, to be honest with you. And it looks as though they also got some much better work from some of their other guys, whether it be JT Tuimoloau or Laiatu Latu, in getting the pressures on Geno Smith, even if they didn't necessarily end in sacks in this particular game right here. You know, that's a testament to how sound those guys are playing. But my goodness, Geno Smith, like, damn, come on, man, this is not good. This is not okay, man. They've given you this contract and thinking that you're going to at least offer some stability there. And yet he ends this game as the league leader in interceptions. That's just, no. All right. At the very least for them, I guess Ashton Jeanty still had a decent game, to say the least. 19 total touches and 109 total yards for him. That's solid work. Trey Tucker also had 4 catches for 62 yards in this game as well. While Albert Okwuegbunam, and I guess he's a junior now, 5 receptions and 36 yards for him. Yeah, it's just very, very interesting stuff. But again, the Colts just, man, they just continue to roll on, man. It is crazy. Like, Daniel Jones is playing really damn good football. I did not ever think I was going to fucking say that, but here we are, man. 212 yards for him and 2 touchdown passes on 69% completion. Ashton Dulin, of all of their different wide receivers, actually led them on the day with 55 yards on 2 catches. Josh Downs had 6 receptions and 54 yards. Tyler Warren had 4 receptions and 44 yards with a touchdown. And Michael Pittman Jr. had 5 receptions for 39 yards and a touchdown. And oh yeah, Jonathan Taylor is still a fucking beast. How about from scrimmage, 20 total touches and 86 total yards with 3 rushing touchdowns. Like, he didn't even have to have his most effective rushing day, and it still didn't fucking matter at all for him. That's just how good he is. And when you can have that balance between all of those different aspects of the game, it does make the Colts incredibly dangerous. Again, how long then can they really keep this going for? I don't know. I can't say that right now. But it's looking very promising for them right now. And even if they do manage to slide, I mean, they've given themselves a very good cushion to start this game out. And at the end of the day, that is really what you'd be looking for in a case like this. All right, moving on to the Titans. Well, no. Fuck it. Moving on to the Titans and Cardinals. Because you know what? I'm sick and tired of this shit, bro. We can talk about every single thing you want. We can talk about fucking Amari DeMercado being a fucking idiot. We can talk about the Cardinals managing to blow a 21-3 lead in this game. We can talk about a lot of the different madness that ensued. But all I want is for y'all to give Tyler Lockett his motherfucking respect. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. Is that y'all give that man his fucking due. That's it. Can a brother get that? That's all I'm asking for, bro. The fact that every single time you're literally seeing that Tyler Lockett, after Cam Ward throws this interception, is the guy that jumps on the football and gets the touchdown in this situation for the team. You see that on your screen, and yet you have all these different people talking about, oh, Titans recovered the football. Oh, the game-changing play might have happened beforehand, and the Titans managed to go on a run after this. Well, who the fuck do you think made the play in the first place? My brother. Who do you think made the play in the first place that single-handedly turned the game around in that fucking moment? It was Tyler Lockett. And yes, you can also blame Taylor Demerson for being an idiot in his own right. I mean, it wasn't even punched out by anybody, for crying out loud, when I saw it in post. He just put the fucking ball on the ground. Like, what the fuck are you doing? At that point, if you're not trying to run for extra yardage, bro, you could just give yourself up. And granted, that would be a wild situation either to willingly put your team at a disadvantage in field position like that if you don't have to. But yeah, you just had so much running through your mind that you decided to just drop that ball, plop it on the ground. Like, what? What kind of shit? The game was definitely on crack. Don't get me wrong. This was a fucking crack game, to say the least. Between all the different shit that was going on. But look, man. Somebody still had to win. Fuck. Like, Tyler Lockett was definitely a key reason. If he doesn't recover the fucking fumble, they're not going to completely come all the way back. You just can't forget that. And I want you niggas to understand that. That's all I'm saying. But yes, Joey Slowik capped this damn crack game off. Phil want to give the Titans their first win of the season. Oh, man. I mean, look, Cam Ward can no longer say that the Titans dropped a full quarter of their games. But with his statement in mind from last week, if you are a Titans player, I think you should still understand that we still ass. I mean, bro, the man, he still made some solid decisions, and there are still growing pains here. But how many times are you really going to have? And yes, I will preface this by saying that, yes, Drake Maye did in fact win a ball game without throwing a touchdown. That's fair. But he, unlike Cam Ward, still did a good job of protecting the ball, was still doing a great job of being efficient as a passer. You are rarely going to see a quarterback nearing territory of completing just 50% of their passes while being inefficient and ineffective with the ball and still winning the ball game. That's not going to happen every single time. And that is what was going down in the first place. Even before he threw the pick, I mean, again, they were already down 21-3 because of those things. And there's a lot more that goes into it because the Titans still have no run game. But at the very least, they can walk away from this game knowing that they did assert Calvin Ridley into the system well in the game, at least. He had 5 receptions for 131 yards. By far, the most productive wide receiver in the game for either side. So that helps. But again, that's not going to always be enough. Like, they will not consistently get away with some shit like this again. I guarantee it right now. As for the Cardinals, man, Kyler Murray had 220 yards and 74.2% completion with a fumble. And also had a rushing touchdown with 25 yards. In fact, all of the Cardinals' touchdowns came from runs. And yet, all it might have taken, if you're not going to give Tyler Lockett the credit that he fucking deserves here, well, you would look at the fact that Dave Mercado could have had a fucking fourth. So I'll tell you what. Yes, they can have his stats listed right here. Honestly, and I'm going to say this too because, there's just a consistent epidemic with stupid-ass people continuing to let the ball go. They're so fucking cool. Instead of just holding on to it and actually scoring the touchdown first before you decide to score. So, here would be my proposition, right? If you have a play that results in something like that, where it goes out of the back of the end zone for a touchback after a long gain, I'm not going to lie, that should count against their numbers. When you see fucking Adonai Mitchell still getting up to 90-something receiving yards following that damn gaff on that 75-yard run and catch, when you still see Dave Mercado having 81 yards total despite that gaff at the end of the 71-yard run, I'm like, no. If you're going to drop the ball before you can even complete the play and get the score, complete the full yardage, you should not, under any fucking circumstance, still be credited with the fucking yardage on that play. It should count against you. Dock the fucking yardage. Or make it to where it just doesn't count at all. If anything, the attempt still should. Right? But the yards wouldn't. So let's just say that we did do this to Dave Mercado. Well, he'd just be credited with 3 rushes for 10 yards. And a fumble. Because it's you're going to try to celebrate that damn early before you even complete the full fucking play. Why should you even deserve to have credit for the fucking yardage there? Doesn't make sense to me. And honestly, that would be relatively tame compared to what some other people would probably be thinking about doing. I don't know. It would be worth a shot. Marvin Harrison Jr. at least also had a solid game here. 4 receptions for 98 yards for him. And Trey McBride had 5 receptions for 41 yards. Again, definitely cracked game. And to think that this Saints-Giants game might have been even more drugged up. Colloquially speaking, Yeah. Giants themselves are in a similar spot, trying to build off of their first win last week. And to be honest, when you see that Jackson Dart on back-to-back drives had back-to-back touchdowns to Theo Johnson, hey, the connection was building off of what they put together last week. They were looking like they were going to smoke the Saints. And then they started chipping back at it, man. Not only did they get a field goal here, but also I saw that Rashid Shaheed had an 87-yard receiving touchdown, just burning all the defenders on this Giants defense. And while they still have their own slate of issues, Blake Grupe is not a good kicker. Let me repeat that. Blake Grupe is not a good kicker. He's not. He's not. Nonetheless, that wouldn't even matter because they would literally fumble, and it started the madness for the Giants. Led right into a field goal. In fact, not only would they be in the same situation in the third quarter, but it literally got worse. For the next 5 straight possessions, okay, just think about this. 5 straight possessions in between the end of the second quarter and essentially the end of the fourth quarter. Fumble that led to a field goal. Another fumble that led to another Saints field goal. And then to open up the fourth quarter on what was a promising drive, a fumble forced by Brian Breesy on Cam Scatterboo that led to an 86-yard scoop and score for Jordan Howden. All right. Then, after that, a damn interception by Jackson Dart to none other than Kool-Aid McKinstry. They force a punt, and then Jackson Dart throws another interception to Kool-Aid McKinstry. And yet, the Saints still can't capitalize off that because Blake Grupe fucking sucks. Yet, they turn the ball over on downs. So if you want to get technical about it, 6 straight possessions with fucking turnovers to close out the game. And again, it was looking promising for the Giants until it wasn't. So the Saints, again, ironically enough, tie up the loose ends here and get their first win of the season. But the poor Jets still can't. Yeah. I know all you damn Jets fans out there are just writhing in so much fucking pain. It sucks. It sucks. Like, the Saints can get away with a win and doing this shit. Nope. Hey, the Saints had Taysom Hill back in this game. I thought he was going to go exceptionally crazy. They tried to make it happen, but it wasn't. Going down like that, that's fine, though. He'll definitely get his moments in this season. No question about it. Hey, Spencer Rattler, look at that, man. He finally broke his winless streak to open his career. It was definitely getting into some historically bad territory, so you love to see that he got that out of the way at least. It's got to be gratifying for him that he could pull off his first win. Because honestly, at that point, when you get into that kind of territory, man, no matter how you win the fucking game, a win is a win. And it's his first one, and it's not one that he should forget, right? He's definitely obligated to that, right? So, like, respect to Spencer Rattler here. He played fine, honestly. 246 yards for him on 66.7% completion and a touchdown pass. Instead, Rashid Shaheed led the way with 114 yards and 4 catches. The aforementioned touchdown. Chris Olave had 7 receptions for 59 yards, and Alvin Kamara had 4 receptions for 28 yards. As for the Giants, again, growing pains for Jackson Dart. Yes, it looked promising to start out the game. Yes, it looked exceptionally bad to close out the game. It is a learning process. And if you're Dable, you knew what you were signing up for. Though again, I thought that this would be the game where Jackson Dart would actually perform way better. And I mean, that's what many people were thinking when it came to like having this idea of getting Jackson Dart's debut to come in against this team. But I guess they weren't having that. 202 202 passing yards. Whoa. And 2 touchdowns with 2 interceptions on 65% completion. He also had 55 yards on the ground. Cam Scatterboo had a combined 21 touches for 104 yards. It was the Daniel Bellinger show for some reason. He led the team in receiving yards with 52 on 4 catches. And Theo Johnson, as I mentioned, 6 receptions, 33 yards for him, and 2 touchdowns. Just wild stuff, man. I don't know what to say. And then Lions Bengals. This is not a game I would spend too much time on because it was a blowout. But I guess after getting absolutely fucked up in the earlier parts of this game, like it was literally 28-3 at halftime. I shit you not. Yeah, you know. Garbage time would see Jake Browning step it up, I guess. You know, out of vanity, he just felt the need to get multiple touchdown passes to Jamar Chase, including one from 64 yards out. And he also got T. Higgins fed. Damn, it's about damn time, I guess. But yeah, by the end of it, man, the Lions still just completely overmatched them. You know, they could have done a lot more in the second half, admittedly, but they didn't really feel like doing all that much, man. For an offense who, ironically enough, and I'll get to that in a second, they are still blazing. They just wanted to take it easy every once in a while, I guess. If you consider a 25-point deficit at halftime easy, yeah, that puts some other teams who might have to face the Lions later on in the season in a very interesting spot. The Lions would win very convincingly. Like, don't let this 37-24 score fool you, man. At no point did the Bengals have any momentum in this game. At no singular point in time. It was all Lions all day. In fact, it is crazy when you think about it. Because, you know, like, after that week 1, it was looking drastic for the Lions. I'm not going to lie to you. The low output, the inefficient offense, definitely nothing like what they'd been putting together over the last few seasons. And yet, as of the time of this video, because we're still at the week 5 point, right? They have now outpaced their mark in terms of points from last season. They reset the mark for most points in franchise history through their first 5 games, and the averages, again, surpassed that even of what they ended up with last season. So we're talking about a legitimately scarier offense compared to last year's with a potentially healthier defense. Again, they might face a few more situations where they're gonna be tested for sure. Because, again, to repeat a 2-loss season, I don't care who the fuck you are, okay, that is going to be exponentially difficult to accomplish. It's just true. But they are still proving to be a very formidable team. Jared Goff, again, like I said, when he is in his bag, he might legitimately be a top 10 quarterback. I'm not gonna bullshit. Like, he's put together some great work this season, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. 6-1 TD to interception ratio. He threw for 3 touchdown passes in this game and had 82.6% completion with 258 yards. Just carving up the damn defense, bro. We're talking about elite distribution of the ball as well. I mean, everybody is getting fed. You had 4 different players catch touchdowns here. In Sam Laporta, coming off a day where he actually had 5 receptions for 92 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield with a touchdown catch on 33 yards receiving. Brock Wright with David Montgomery actually, again, throwing a pretty damn good pass, although in short range, to him for the touchdown here. And then at the end of the game, Isaac Tisla, the rookie out of Arkansas, getting in for a touchdown as well. But Amon-Ra St. Brown still led everybody with 8 receptions for 100 yards. Because, of course, it's not difficult to understand. David Montgomery also had 65 yards on the ground and a touchdown. As for the Bengals, Jake Browning, 251 passing yards and 3 touchdowns on 65% completion. But 3 interceptions as well. In fact, Geno Smith leads the NFL in interceptions. Jake Browning tied with him. And he has not started in every game this season. Keep that in mind. Yeah. Story of the Bengals season so far. Oh, my goodness. Jamar Chase had 6 receptions for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Andre Yoshivas had 5 receptions for 82 yards, while T. Higgins had 3 receptions for 22 yards and a touchdown catch. Also, yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's got to take something. They are also a team, when you think about the Chiefs as well, they're also a team that desperately needs to find like a lead workhorse back. Because Chase Brown, for as good as he can be in terms of like PPR, in terms of that kind of versatility, man, to try to make him out to be your ace in the backfield is not a good idea and is not panned out to this point. It just hasn't. And you can't be content with that at this point. Like, how many more times are you going to need to see that to understand that he just is not there as a running back prospect right now? He's just not. Like, I'm sorry, bro. What more do you need to see? Right? Truthfully, no disrespect, like, he's a good player, but damn, like, some gotta give us some point, bro. But that'll do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.